So I bought these scrubs in 2022 for Valentine's Day. I was having a Valentine's call in 2022 and I thought I was going to look cute, wear red scrubs with my white Converses. And when I tell you that I regretted that decision the minute I walked into casualty on that, I can't even remember what day Valentine's was, but I regretted my decision because all I saw was red, 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 red everywhere. And the red was not hearts, guys. It was not roses. The red was blood. And it was not bright red blood. It was a combination of blood mixed with alcohol and vomitus and other bodily fluids I won't mention here. Anyways, enough of the graphics. Hey guys, welcome back to Zibuyile iinkokheli, a platform for leaders who are living life one ordered step, sometimes giant leap at a time, quite literally. If you're returning and you've subscribed, thank you so much for joining. I trust that you're enjoying the content, which is why you came back. And if you're new here, hey Leader Heyyy, good to have you. I hope you're going to stick around and this is the kind of content that you're going to enjoy. If it is, please do like, comment, share and subscribe. Share the video with someone that you think might find this video useful. In the middle of my Navigating Life series, currently navigating life as an unemployed doctor, hence the scrubs. So if you watched my previous video, which I will link up here, I'm still figuring this YouTube thing out. If I haven't linked it, please just go back to like one video back and watch my first installment of the Navigating Life as an Unemployed Doctor series, where I discussed my med school journey, internship ComServe, and life post ComServe as an unemployed doctor. So I spoke about everything, well, most things locum doctoring and the like. So on today's video, I'm wearing red scrubs and I came here with guns blazing because it's going to be, I think, a bit of an intense one. I'm not sure which direction this video is going to take, but I made a few notes. I don't have a phone this time, so I made notes on my trusty notebook. So first topic that I want to discuss very briefly is navigating life as an unemployed doctor, the family aspect of it. So I think for the family aspect, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can't convince my mom, who's very camera shy, to come and join me and ideally share her experience of having a daughter or a child that has studied for this long and then finds herself in this kind of predicament, how she has navigated her emotions while managing my emotions, while managing the rest of the family. Maybe she'll speak for the family as well, but for me, I am trying my best not to tell other people's stories while I tell my stories. So in terms of family, I think I'll let my mom, if she agrees to it. I think let's all just try to convince her to join, because I think it would be quite interesting to hear how she has navigated this season of my life. But for me, in terms of family, I think it's quite a complex topic to even dissect. I don't even know where to start. But I come from a very tight-knit, small family, very supportive. So in as much as this is quite a situation that I'm finding myself in, I think over the past few months, everyone has just sort of like given me room and space to just be. Because initially, like, the questions would come very frequently. Mana, how is the job search going? How are things going? How are you doing? And all of that. And to some degree, each time a family member called, even like just each time anyone called, I kind of knew that the call was not just like to check on how I am doing per se, but it was to check how the job hunt is going. So in as much as the conversation would start off very casually and whatnot, but it would always end or land on the job related questions. which put me in a bit of a predicament here, because at some point I kind of wanted to steer clear of answering calls because I knew that the question is coming, and because I had no new fresh answers. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, no, let's skip the family part because it's a very sensitive one. Okay, navigating life as an unemployed doctor. How have I navigated seeing my peers? Because truth be told, like I explained in my previous video, some of my peers, classmates, friends are employed. They've got jobs. Some of them, they're medical officers in the departments that they've always wanted to work in, meaning that they already have a foot in the door towards specialization. Some of them are registrars already, and it has taken a lot of mental and hard work to manage my emotions and celebrate their wins without me watering down their experience, and while trying to remain hopeful. Yo, guys, live video. It's gonna be all over the show because I'm realizing that like there's just so much to unpack. But anyways, seeing my peers advance in the career has been, I think, one of the most challenging aspects of unemployment, because you're looking at people who you started the journey with, and you kind of had hoped that you would be on par with them. And now that life took a sharp turn, you're not on par. They're like miles ahead of you. So it has taken a lot of intentionality in terms of celebrating when I see their wins or when they share their wins with me. And sometimes I've also wondered whether some of them have been reluctant to share their wins with me because they know what the situation is like. I don't know. But at some point, especially last year, I've deleted my social media platforms because I was feeling myself bordering on overwhelm and bordering on a downward spiral. At some point, I did get to a downward spiral. And it was not even a sense of jealousy or anything like that. I'm super excited for them, super proud of all of my peers that are doing amazing things out there. However, the spiral was coming from a sense of feeling less accomplished, because you need to understand that the medical field is a very competitive field, because you're going to get the questions. So what are you doing? What are you up to? Like, what are you busy with lately? Like, have you published any papers? have you there are so many have yous. So not being able to answer those questions put me in a position whereby I did not even want to witness people who are able to answer those questions and thriving. So that is the one aspect, seeing your peers advancing their careers, and when you feel a sense of stagnation. That is a whole doozy and a whole ana on its own. And then with that comes the fear of being rusty and losing clinical skills. Because let's face it, if you're going to be working in a clinical environment, you need to have clinical skills. And if you're not using clinical skills, then you risk losing them, basically, like law of use and disuse. If you're not using your muscles, they gotta wear away, basically. So I'm also struggling currently. I think that is one of my biggest struggles. Even like engaging on platforms, well, not engaging, being a spectator on platforms where clinical discussions are being held. I'm finding myself shying away from contributing because I feel like clinically I'm not as on top of my game as I should be. And as much as I am keeping up with like CPDs, which is like your continuing professional development seminars and things like that, I'm finding myself wondering whether if I should be faced with specific situations, would I be able to address them and be excellent at doing so? I'm finding myself asking whether or not the knowledge that I have is adequate. I mean, I struggle with imposter syndrome still from high school, even, believe it or not. So now this has just like worsened that, because at the back of my mind, I'm always thinking academics, like if you're not in an academic environment, if you're not in a clinical environment like as often as I previously was, I find myself feeling like, yeah, am I even going to be a good doctor by the time I find a job? So that's that. And that also permeates into wondering whether am I going to be like, I know, okay, I'm going to get back into the groove of things, but I worry a lot because I care about my work so much, and I care about the people I work with and the people I serve so much, that I fear making like crucial decisions that are going to have like long-lasting repercussions and fatal consequences because of that. So there's that. Yeah, so the pressure's on. And then I think one thing we need to talk about is the job search struggles. I don't think that medical school prepares us well enough to look for a job. Of course, we do like OSCEs where they're like sometimes interview style type exams, but I don't think medical school prepares us enough for the real world. Job struggles. Let us talk about the process of actually looking for jobs, be it via bulletins, websites, word of mouth, anything. That is a tedious process. It is taxing, but that is not the most tedious part. I also didn't anticipate how expensive job hunting would be, especially when it comes to departments where they don't accept soft copies or emailed applications, or they don't have websites where you can apply through. You actually have to print out the documents and submit. I've spent a couple of hundred over the past few months just printing documents for submission. Printing, posting, shipping, couriering, you name it, I've done it. And it is expensive. And I found myself, I think this was 2 weeks ago, I found myself wondering, Obana, if job hunting is this expensive and you're unemployed, where's the sustainability in all of it? Like, surely you have to compromise on some things so that you're able to print out these documents and send them via courier or whatever. So the costs involved are quite hefty. I must say it's quite a hefty price to pay, but you have to do it. Yeah. And then the one thing that I was having a conversation with my cousin, who's a pharmacist, she's also like on the job market, was the blue ticks that you get from everybody and anyone. Like, the most frustrating thing is applying for a job and no one acknowledges that they received your application. No one acknowledges, of course, in the adverts they will say that if you don't get a response after 3 months or after however many weeks, then assume that your application is unsuccessful. But nobody acknowledges that they received your application. Nobody sends you feedback whether or not your application was successful if they didn't state, like if they did not have that disclaimer on their advert. And nobody informs you like when the shortlisting process is going to start. And say you attend an interview. I've attended interviews and they don't tell you if you're successful or not. You just discover. Okay, funny story, guys. For one of the jobs that I interviewed, when I attended an interview for last year, guess how I discovered that I was not picked for the job or I was not successful? By Instagram during the Rugby World Cup final. So one of the candidates that was at the interviews, I saw them in a picture that was posted by a mutual friend on Instagram while at work. They were celebrating the Rugby World Cup win while at work. And they were all together. And then I was like, oh, okay, so it means that this person. And this was like a month later after the interview. So the courtesy to be informed, Bana, thank you so much for applying and attending the interview, but we've gone with another candidate. 0. None. Dealing with the disappointment as well of getting blue ticks. And also when they do respond, in as much as like one of the other jobs that I went for an interview for, although they responded like 3 months later, they had the courtesy to let me know that I was not recommended. That's how they stated, by the way. I was not recommended. Thank you for applying and what. But then the disappointment that comes with not getting a job that you are quite confident about, it is unmatched. But then you have to push through that and continue applying. That is the thing. You have to push through the disappointments and just continue applying. And I remember last year when it came to like job interviews and things like that, I didn't tell my family that I was invited for job interviews because I was avoiding that raised expectations situation only for them to be like destroyed, kind of. So I didn't share those news. I only shared them like months later. But years ago, I attended an interview so and so place for this particular job. It was unsuccessful. Because also because everybody is like hopeful with you and is expectant with you, they will follow up. But have they responded? So I was just trying to avoid that whole hoo-ha. And then the other thing that has been a challenge for me is the fact that I'm finding myself applying for jobs in departments that I wouldn't necessarily choose as a first prize for the sake of employment, and dismissing or compromising what I actually want to do, which is putting me in quite a pickle because in as much as I apply myself fully to whatever tasks that I'm faced with, but I am risking being miserable. That is the other thing. But I remember having a conversation with someone very close to me, and they were like, at this point, you can't afford to be picky. Stop being picky. And deep down, that made sense. But also at the same time, I'm like, there is a reason why I'm being picky. I will, not in a million years would I choose Obs and Gynae as a first prize. So now if I'm going to be applying for an Obs and Gynae job and I get it, I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to be so miserable. But because of the situation that I'm in, I'm like, I think the people close to me are like, just cast your net as wide as possible, which I am doing, and see where you're going to catch. But at the same time, I'm trusting God for a very specific type of job because I don't want to see myself in an Obs and Gynae award. Yo! Yeah, no, that would not work. So what's the other thing? Yeah, please excuse this video, guys, if it's all over the show. I'm trying to share as much as I can, but also at the same time, because I'm still managing and navigating this as well. It's very hard for me to sit in front of the camera and talk about how stressful of a situation this is. So the other thing is bills. Choose Destiny's Child's bills. Can you pay my bills? Can you pay for my automobile, my telephone bill? So how have I navigated that? In terms of finances, beginning of internship, I'm not going to go to the extreme details of how I came to the decision. But beginning of internship, I made the decision to save. I decided that I was going to put away an emergency fund. Initially, it was going to be just for 6 months, to tide me over for 6 months post ComServe. But I extended it to a year plus worth of emergency savings. I know, crazy, right? So I had to be very intentional about saving, to make sure that I had a cushion to fall on should post-ComServe life happen, which happened. So I've been surviving on my savings, and of course, with the locum work that I've been doing, it has been supplementing my savings so that my savings don't run dry. And I'm forever grateful. You know, on TikTok, there's this trend with the Ringo Madlingozi song, Ngeke Ndakulimala. Like, the doctors that have trusted me with their practices, y'all deserve a video and a special shout out and a special seat in heaven, because yeah, truly, I'll never forget you. So that's how I've managed over the past few months. Of course, get support from family, unmatched. And I say unmatched. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to address was moving back home with family once you've moved out. There's no shame in that, guys. If you have to move back home, do it. I know not everybody will have the opportunity or has the option to move back home, but if you have the option to move back home because of unemployment, do it. Even if you're turning 30. It's only like a temporary measure. I can't really talk much about that, but yeah. Black tax. For me, fortunately, and I really thank God for that, I don't really have black tax, like the typical black tax expenses. Of course, when I started working, there were like specific things that I wanted to help out at home with, which I did during internship and ComServe. But now that I'm unemployed, there are no expectations from my family towards me to contribute financially towards anything. So that has put off quite a weight off my shoulders, because I cannot imagine if I had a family, like a whole family to support, how I was going to navigate that. Yeah, of course, get my cousins, they still think like I'm their rich cousin, which technically, yeah, my cousins, when they call me with a random like, can I have money to do my hair? Can I have money for airtime, whatever? And I have to explain to them that just like I had a budget before, I have a budget now, but this time it's only stricter. So you have to wait. Bruh, you can't tell me on Wednesday that you need money on Friday. It won't fly. So there's that. And then in terms of debts, the biggest debt that I have, the biggest and the only debt that I have is my car. I grew up in a family whereby my mom, like she taught me early on, Bana, debt is not a beautiful thing. If you can avoid debt, do so. If you can pay cash for things that you want, especially for wants, pay cash for them. Otherwise, yeah. And then for needs, if you find yourself in a pickle truly, then you can get into debt for it. There are some debts that you can't avoid, like education, housing, and things like that. But for luxury items, for me, I don't get into debt to buy things that I want. Truly. I mean, even my credit card, I remember the banker called me the other time offering me a credit card upgrade. And I'm like, nah, I don't want one. I'm not even using this one. So it's fine. Like, chill. So the biggest debt that I have is my car, which is a need. technically speaking, because I needed to get to work. Besides that, I don't have any other debts, and I'm not planning on making or creating new debts anytime soon. That's probably the only other debt I'm gonna have, like a mortgage, and that is because I probably won't be able to pay a couple of millions cash. Otherwise, if I could, I would remain debt free. And then in terms of my lifestyle, I don't live a lavish lifestyle. I'm a liker of things, don't get me wrong, but I have tried to teach myself not to like live an over the top extravagant lifestyle. So I've narrowed down on things that I like doing. Like for instance, 2022, I traveled quite a bit. Like the airports knew my name. But since then, I haven't been traveling as much. I used to take solocations at every opportunity I could get. Weekend aways, adventures and things. Not so much this year. I'm still doing like fun things, but not as over the top as before. I haven't really had like a lifestyle shock because not a lot has changed. It's just that I'm not traveling as much. I'm not, yeah, it doesn't really bother me because I know it's a seasonal thing. And then more bills. HPCSA 3.2K is due at the end of this month. My friend Riam Gela was like, yo guys, and I could relate. So I think I spoke about HPCSA and MPS and summer in the previous video. And then lastly, downward spirals. How have I been coping? So for me, one thing that I've learned over the past 2-3 years is not to spiritually bypass my emotions. As a Christian, most of the times we tend to want to not experience the full range of our emotions and feel bad and guilty for the emotions that we are feeling during a trying season. And reality is, we do not have a high priest who hasn't gone through all of this, like the entire range of emotions, the entire spectrum, whether it's fear, whether it's grief, sadness, anger, disappointment, you name it, Jesus felt it. So I've allowed myself to experience the full range of emotions that come with being unemployed, stressed, frustrated, disappointed, hopeless. You name it, I've felt it and I've worked my way through it. And I think one of the best things that God did a thing on this one, he made sure that I had a solid support system. I have people, like I like to call them quality in my corner. And I'm sure they're going to watch this video. Quality in my corner. I don't have a lot. I normally say that my circle is the size of a dot, and I mean it. But my circle, those are true gems, okay? Like top tier people. So God has made sure that I have quality in my corner, people that I can literally be like, yeah, no, I'm going through it. I'm a little fragile. Handle with care for the next couple of days, please. I haven't been the easiest person. I know I haven't been the easiest person to support, but I have had to allow myself the gift of relationships. I have had to allow myself the gift of community, because old me would want to suffer in silence and troubleshoot all by myself and fix all of my problems by myself. But I think this season has proven to me over and over again that I actually need community. I can never survive as an island. I'm not sure which one is going to come first, the blog post or this video, but this part is very much, I go into detail on the blog regarding being planted in a solid community. So that's how I've navigated the downward spirals, allowing myself to feel all of the feels without bypassing any of them, and having a solid support system. And then other things is that I've been keeping myself busy. Of course, I've had days and weeks whereby I will mindlessly scroll on social media doing nothing, and next thing kuphele inyanga, and I cannot account for my time, which I've been trying to avoid intentionally, so especially this year. But I've been keeping myself occupied. The blog, started a YouTube channel, showing up for my people, because when I was busy during the pandemic ComServe, I was so preoccupied that I couldn't give my relationships the care and the nurturing that they required. So I'm able to do that. I'm able to serve in the local church. Highly recommend being planted in a local church as well. Top tier. If you find yourself a local church that is functioning as the apostles experienced, that is a gift that I cannot begin to explain how precious it is. So I've been able to serve in our local church. I've been able to learn more about myself as well. I think the past few months, I've learned more about myself than I've ever did in my 28 years of life. And then the other thing, just to round things off, like I said in my previous video, was that I am not living my life as a person without hope, in as much as I will experience. My mom is coming and I'm still shooting. Just say hi. I said, man, I'm going to ask, invite you for an interview, ne? So that I can ask you a few questions. So is that a yes? Later. Okay, so you're agreeing. Okay, guys. Okay, so my mom has agreed to join me for an interview. She's very camera shy, and that's the inside shy. She's extremely camera shy. So she's gonna join me for the interview. Yeah. Ndikulinda uphume before ndigqibele video. Okay. Ndilindile ke. Ungalibali isijelo. Ufuna nje isiphosa moto. Bangakanga mina. Ungagugeli kum please. Sengigqithe uba uguge. So that is my mom, guys. I'm going to see how I'm going to edit this video, because she really does not want to appear. But yeah, so I was saying, Giovanna, I'm not living my life as somebody without hope. As a Christian, for me, I've found solace and comfort in the fact that God truly knows what He's doing, guys. He's not trying to figure out my life. I might be trying to figure out my life, but God is not trying to figure out my life. He has it all figured out for me. The phone. Oh. I will. Kindly, please. I will kindly, please. So I was saying that I find comfort and reassurance in the fact that God is not trying to figure out my life. I would be in quite a tight corner. I would be caught between a rock and a hard place if God was out here trying to figure out my next step. But the fact that he is already preordained and predestined my life brings me comfort, and also because in as much as I'm going through this season, the lessons that I'm learning have come up with scripture backing those lessons up. And one of the biggest lessons that I am learning, or that I have learned, no, I'm still learning it, is the fact that God cares. He cares for me. He cares about me so much. And Matthew chapter 6 has been like the epitome of me being reassured on the daily. Whenever I start to feel my heart tethering on dangerous terrain, I am reminded of Matthew chapter 6. And I'm going to read the whole thing, so bear with me. Matthew 6:25. Therefore, I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not more valuable than they? Which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature? So why do you worry about clothing? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow, they neither toil nor spin. And yet I say to you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Now if God so clothes the grass of the field, which today is and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Therefore do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For after all these things the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you need all these things. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things. Sufficient for the day is its own trouble. And that scripture has held me over some tight and some troubling days. The fact that if I am more valuable and more precious than the lilies of the valley, like wildflowers don't wonder and think, yo, is the sun gonna rise today? Am I going to be able to photosynthesize or not? They don't worry about that. The birds don't think in the morning going about yo, I wonder if tomorrow you're going to be able to find seeds or grain to eat. They just continue about their day and provision comes. And that is what has literally been happening in my life over the past few months. Provision has been coming. Have I been worrying? Yes. Because it is in my carnal human nature to worry. But every time I feel myself stepping into the territory of obsessively worrying about something, I am reminded that I am more precious than birds of the air. I am more precious than the wildflowers. God cares for me, and he knows that he knows that I'm a liker of things. God knows that I want to live my best life, and he knows that I need money to live my best life. God knows that I want to make my family proud. God knows that I want to serve him. God knows that I want to have passion projects that are funded by my full-time job. God knows that there's so much that I want to accomplish through the job. So am I worrying sometimes? Yes. But God knows. I think that is the one thing that is always at the back of my mind. God knows that I need a job. And whether it looks like something that I imagined or whether it looks like something I could have never imagined, I don't know. But I am resting in the reassurance that God knows. And not only does he know, he cares. So to everybody that is faced with the very unfortunate situation of unemployment, I'm not even going to touch on like entrepreneurship and things like that. This is not the discussion here. We could have another discussion as to like, why don't you start a business and things like that. But that is not the discussion here. But to everybody that is faced with unemployment, I'd really like to encourage you. It is very taxing on your mental health. Please find support systems. Have support structures in place. Otherwise, your mental health will fall apart and crumble right in front of your eyes. I've been there. reach out to someone. For me, it has taken quite a long time to come to terms with the fact that I'm not a burden to anyone. The people that are in my corner, they actually want to show up for me. You're not a burden to anyone, trust me. They would rather have you alive than not. So before you do anything wild, please reach out. You can even reach out to me. You can even send me a text, a DM, if you're scared to drop your comment on the box below. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap the video up here. But I remember after shooting the first episode, these are like so taxing emotionally. I did not realize until after I shot the first installment of the Navigating Life series. I was out of it for a couple of days because it took so much out of me to share. So now at the end of this video, I'm already like, should I even upload this? Should I try shooting it again, or should I just scrap the whole idea completely? But anyways, if you've watched the whole video, thank you so much. I hope you will, I don't know what I'm hoping you'll get out of this video actually. If you're going through anything, even if it's not unemployment, if you're going through anything, I pray that you will find comfort and come to the realization that God actually cares about you, that you are more precious and valuable than wildflowers, and that He is not trying to figure your life out. He really isn't. He has it figured all the way out. And I guess that's why even the tagline for this channel is a platform for leaders who are living life one ordered step, sometimes giant leap at a time. It's because our lives are unfolding day by day. So do like, comment, subscribe, share the video with someone that you think might find this useful. I think I'm going to end up uploading this video. It is not perfect, it is not my greatest works, but it is what it is, and my microphone is dying, so I think let us call it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.